Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Some women lie about their age, others about their weight. But Peace Houston had built her entire existence around the most dangerous lie of all. She had convinced the world she was nobody. To strangers passing her in the staff corridors of the Brownstone Hotel in Atlanta, she was just another maid in a pink uniform, pushing a cart filled with towels, disinfectant sprays, and neatly folded sheets. Her name tag, Peace, gleamed softly under the fluorescent lights. Her braids, twisted into a tidy bun, gave her an air of neat professionalism. Her dark skin glowed with natural radiance even beneath the dull hallway lamps. Peace looked like a young woman trying to earn a living the modest way. But beneath the quiet smile and humble posture lived a truth so enormous that if anyone found out, her entire life would crumble in an instant. Because Peace Houston was not a struggling maid. Not a girl from a poor neighborhood. Not someone surviving paycheck to paycheck. She was the secret daughter and only heir of the Houston Legacy Group, a multi-billion-dollar media empire with influence spanning continents. She was born into unimaginable wealth, privilege, and expectations. Her childhood had been painted in gold and guarded by security. But Peace hadn't touched that golden world in 7 years. Ever since the night her mother died, she had abandoned everything: the estates, the headlines, the charity galas, the suffocating responsibility, and disappeared into a life no one could trace. Freedom for her came disguised as anonymity. And anonymity, ironically, was found in the uniform of a maid. She took a steady breath and pushed her cleaning cart toward the executive suites. Just another day, she whispered to herself, though she knew better. Nothing about her life had ever been just another anything. Peace's childhood had been a fantasy to anyone looking from the outside. She grew up traveling in private jets, studying ballet in London, eating dinner across from political leaders and acclaimed authors. Her mother, Madeline Houston, had been adored as a philanthropic queen, elegant, beloved, generous. Her father ran one of the world's largest media corporations, a man whose decisions shaped news cycles and cultural conversations. But fame was never easy. And losing the only parent who truly understood her broke Peace in ways she could not articulate. At 16, she stood at her mother's funeral watching reporters shove microphones at her grieving father, trying to catch a quote that would sell headlines. Producers whispered about her outfit, her tears, her posture, as if grief was a show and she was the actress cast to perform it. That was the day Peace realized wealth was a prison. Not every prison has bars. Some come disguised as privilege. So at 17, she made a decision that would be unthinkable to everyone but her. She removed herself from the Houston empire. She created a new employment identity, legal, but untraceable to her wealth. She took a modest apartment in Atlanta. She enrolled in community college under a different name. And she found a job where no one asked too many questions. Housekeeping. Serving, scrubbing, cleaning, these were chores that gave her peace. No cameras. No expectations. No arranged future groom chosen by her father's board members. Just the quiet dignity of earning her own way. The Brownstone Hotel, where Peace worked, was a jewel of Atlanta. Its marble floors glimmered like frozen silver. The lobby chandeliers sparkled with hand-cut crystals imported from Italy. Every guest was someone important: foreign royalty, award-winning actors, Fortune 100 CEOs. And the hotel belonged to the Brown family, one of the wealthiest dynasties in America. Their empire spanned luxury real estate, private aviation, and hospitality. Peace had worked there for 3 years. She kept her head down, smiled politely, stayed invisible, until the day he appeared. James Brown. The son. The heir. The billionaire in tailored suits and expensive confidence. The man whose curiosity would shatter every layer of protection Peace had built around her heart. Peace stopped at the end of the 41st floor hallway and sighed. Suite 4106, one of the penthouse rooms, was supposed to be empty that afternoon. She knocked softly anyway. Housekeeping. May I come in? Silence. She pushed the door open a few inches. And froze. A tall man stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, the city skyline glowing behind him. He wore a white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, dark curls brushing the top of his forehead. His watch alone could have paid her rent for a year. He turned. and their eyes met. Peace felt heat rush through her body so fast she almost stumbled. He had deep brown eyes, warm, intense, searching, the kind that made people confess things they never intended to share. His jawline was sharp, his posture relaxed but somehow commanding. I'm so sorry, sir, Peace said quickly. I didn't know you were still here. James smiled, a small honest smile that softened the world around them. No need to apologize, he said gently. I'm the one who lost track of time. He stepped closer. Peace's throat tightened. Peace, he murmured, reading her name tag. That's a beautiful name. She felt her cheeks burn. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I can come back later. No, he said too quickly. Then cleared his throat. I mean, you don't have to. I'd like you to stay. If you don't mind cleaning while I'm here. His voice was too sincere, too warm, too dangerous. Peace tightened her grip on her cleaning towel. Of course, sir. She moved around the room, avoiding his eyes, but she felt them on her. Observing, studying, noticing. You seem different, James said suddenly. Peace froze mid-wipe of a nightstand. Different, she repeated. He stepped closer, not invading, but curious. Yes. Most people avoid eye contact with me. You don't. Most people get nervous. You're calm. Most people flatter me. You don't. Peace swallowed hard. Most people, he continued softly, don't feel like they're hiding something, the way you do. Her breath caught. He couldn't know. He couldn't. She forced a polite smile. I'm just doing my job, sir. He held her gaze for 3 seconds too long. Then 2 more. Call me James. Her heart nearly stopped. That wouldn't be appropriate. Then I'll call you Peace, he said gently. Because names matter. Her hands trembled. He moved toward the door, pausing before leaving. For what it's worth, he added, I hope this isn't the last time we speak. And with that, James Brown walked out of her life. But fate had already decided he would walk right back in. Because Peace Houston, the woman who convinced the world she was nobody, had just caught the attention of the one man powerful enough to uncover every truth she'd buried. And that was a danger she was not prepared for. Peace Houston did not believe in coincidences. Not in her old life, where every handshake was a calculated alliance, and certainly not in the new one she had carefully constructed, far away from the echo of her last name. So when James Brown walked past her cleaning cart 2 days after their first encounter, stopping like fate itself had grabbed him by the collar, she felt the universe shifting beneath her feet. He wasn't supposed to remember her. He wasn't supposed to look for her. He definitely wasn't supposed to stand there with a smile that softened powerful men and turned hearts reckless. Peace, he said, voice warm with recognition. She froze mid-fold of a towel. Mr. Brown? Do you need something? He nodded, but nervously, like someone about to confess something unexpected. Yes. Actually, I do. Peace braced herself. Maybe he wanted to complain about how she cleaned the suite. Maybe he wanted special arrangements. Rich men always wanted something. But then he said something she never prepared for. I want to take you to dinner. Peace blinked. Her brain rejected the sentence. Her heart seized. Her fingers trembled. Dinner? With him? It wasn't just inappropriate. It was impossible. Mr. Brown, she whispered, I'm a housekeeper. I think you may be mistaking politeness for. I'm not mistaken, he interrupted softly. I know who you are. Peace's blood turned to ice. But then he smiled, unaware of the panic inside her. You're kind, he continued. You're grounded. You look people in the eye. You don't treat me like a billionaire trophy. He took a small step closer. And you make me want to know more. Peace's pulse thudded in her ears. He didn't know anything about her, not about her real life, real money, real power, but the danger lay in how easily he wanted to know. I can't, she whispered. It wouldn't be right. Why not? Because you don't understand. Then help me understand. Peace couldn't look at him. If she did, she'd break. So she focused on the towel in her hand, folding it as if it were fragile glass. You're my employer, she said finally. No, he whispered, My mother is your employer. I'm just a man standing here asking a woman he's drawn to share a meal with him. Her breath shook. No, she said again, firmer this time. It's inappropriate. James nodded slowly, as if he expected her refusal, but not the sadness behind it. He stepped back, giving her space. I won't pressure you, he said gently. But if you ever change your mind. He pulled a small card from his pocket, personal handwritten, and placed it carefully on the corner of her cart. I'd be honored. Then he left. No ego. No arrogance. Just quiet sincerity. Peace stared at the card long after he disappeared down the hallway. On it, in looping confident handwriting, were 3 words. Dinner, someday? James. Her heart cracked open. Not from excitement. From fear. Because the last time someone loved her for who they thought she was, they only loved the mask, not the woman beneath it. And Peace Houston was tired of masks. For 2 days, the card burned in her apron pocket like a secret she wasn't ready to carry. She paced her tiny apartment, torn between loneliness and logic. Peace wanted connection. She wanted affection. She wanted someone to look at her the way James did, as if she were more than a uniform. But she also knew danger better than most. One truth could ruin everything. She stared at the card at least 50 times before she finally picked up her phone. Her thumb hovered over the number before she whispered, "This is a bad idea." She pressed call anyway. The phone rang once. Twice. "Peace," his voice answered, hopeful, stunned. She closed her eyes. "Yes, it's me." He exhaled, relieved. "I didn't think you'd call." "I shouldn't have," she said softly. "But I did." "Does that mean dinner?" Peace swallowed hard. "One dinner," she said. "Somewhere quiet." She didn't want luxury. She didn't want attention. She didn't want the world watching her sit across from a billionaire. She wanted anonymity. James understood. "I know the perfect place," he said. Peace arrived early. She wore a simple white sundress that brushed her knees. Nothing expensive. Nothing attention-grabbing. The restaurant wasn't a 5-star establishment. It was a small black-owned diner on a quiet street, red booths, hand-painted murals, the smell of cornbread and fried okra drifting through the air. James arrived moments later, wearing a fitted black sweater and dark jeans, more casual than she had ever seen him. "You look," he breathed, stopping mid-sentence. "Incredible." Peace blushed. "Thank you. This place, it's nice." He smiled proudly. "I come here when I need real food and real people." The waiter escorted them to a corner booth. James watched Peace with gentle curiosity as she slid into her seat. "Why did you pick here?" she asked softly. "Because you said you wanted quiet," he replied. "And because I didn't want you to feel like you had to impress anyone." Peace's chest tightened. He had no idea how ironic that was. Over fried chicken, collard greens, and sweet tea, Peace found herself laughing more than she had in years. James was surprisingly human. Thoughtful. Self-aware. Sincere. He told her about growing up under wealth he didn't ask for. About pressure from his mother. About learning that money could buy everything except genuine connection. And Peace listened, with an ache she couldn't reveal. Because she understood too well. Because she lived the same life. Because she was lying to him with every nod. He finally asked the question she'd been dreading. "Tell me about your family." Peace froze. Her fingers tightened around her glass. The lie she had prepared for years rose automatically to her lips. "I lost my mother young," she whispered. "My family, it's just me now. Scholarship jobs. Work-study. I've been making it on my own." James looked at her with such profound sympathy that she almost broke. "Peace," he said softly, "you're stronger than you know." She blinked away tears. "Thank you," she whispered. But inside, guilt clawed at her ribs. He was falling for a lie. A lie she didn't want to tell. A lie she didn't know how to stop. When dinner ended, James walked her to her apartment building. He stood under the street lamp, hands in his pockets, suddenly shy. "I had an amazing time," he said. "So did I," Peace admitted. "Can I see you again?" She hesitated, for too long. His face fell slightly. I want to, she whispered. But this is complicated. It doesn't have to be, he murmured. Then he leaned in and kissed her, slowly, gently, reverently, as if afraid she might disappear if he held her too tightly. Peace's heart burst in her chest. Not with joy. With fear. Because she knew. The deeper she let him in, the more catastrophic the truth would be. If you're feeling every beat of this emotional journey, tell us in the comments, do you think Peace should have told James the truth from the beginning? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next chapter will break your heart and heal it. Peace Houston woke up the next morning with the ghost of James's kiss still lingering on her lips. Soft, warm, dangerous. She lay on her narrow bed staring at the ceiling, one hand pressed against her racing heart. She had crossed a line. A line she had promised herself she'd never cross. A line her father warned her about years ago. Once people love you for who you pretend to be, they will never forgive who you really are. And Peace feared he was right. She rolled onto her side, pulling her knees to her chest. She should end it now. Cut the cord before it strangled her. Disconnect herself from the one man capable of undoing every protective wall she'd built. But she couldn't forget the way James looked at her last night. Not with greed, not with expectation, not with entitlement, but with genuine interest. Real warmth. She had felt seen. Not as Peace Houston, the billionaire heiress trapped in a golden cage, but as Peace, the girl who just wanted to breathe. And that terrified her more than anything. She reached the hotel early that morning, hoping her shift would distract her. She tied her apron tighter, tucked away her phone, and pushed her cleaning cart toward the elevators. But fate didn't give her the luxury of hiding. When the elevator doors opened on the 41st floor, James Brown stepped out. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not this early. Not looking like he hadn't slept either. Not with that warm, crooked half-smile that made her heartbeat misbehave. "Peace," he said softly, as if her name tasted sweeter than morning air. She nearly turned around. "Good morning, Mr. Brown," she managed, keeping her tone professional. He raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Brown," he repeated with a teasing lilt. "So we're back to titles now?" Peace swallowed hard. "There are rules," she whispered. "Policies." He stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough that she felt his presence like a heat wave. "Then we'll make new rules," he murmured. Her breath caught. "James, please, not here." He smiled gently but with a glint in his eyes, a glint that told her he'd already sensed the truth she fought to hide. He affected her. More than she wanted him to. "Dinner again tonight?" he asked quietly. Peace nearly choked on her own breath. "I can't," she said too quickly. He nodded slowly, studying her face. "Are you avoiding me?" Peace tightened her hand around her cart handle. "James, this is complicated." "Then let me help you make it simple." Simple. If only he knew. She shook her head. "No. We should keep things professional," he finished for her. She nodded. He stepped closer again, lowering his voice. "I can do professional," he whispered. "But just so you know, I'm terrible at pretending I don't care." Peace froze. Her heart broke itself open. James sighed, ran a hand through his hair, then forced a polite smile. "Okay. I won't push." He backed away. "But I'm not giving up." And with that, he walked down the hall. Peace exhaled shakily. She wasn't just falling for him. She was falling into him. The staff lounge buzzed with mid-shift chatter when Peace stepped inside for her break. She poured herself a cup of coffee, trying to pretend her life wasn't unraveling. But the universe wasn't done with her. "Girl," whispered Lillian, another maid. "Why was James Brown looking at you like that in the hallway?" Peace nearly dropped her cup. "What? He wasn't looking at me." Lillian raised an eyebrow. "Don't play with me." Half the girls on this floor nearly fainted. "Did you clean his room in slow motion or something?" Peace's cheeks burned. "No. Nothing happened." Hum. Lillian folded her arms. "And I'm Beyoncé." Peace rolled her eyes, but anxiety coiled in her stomach. If the staff saw something. If rumors started. If Veronica Brown, James's mother, heard anything. Her secret wouldn't survive the week. She hurried out of the lounge before Lillian could pry any deeper. Peace spent the rest of her shift nervously checking corners, praying James wouldn't return. Instead, fate sent her something far worse. Veronica Brown. The billionaire matriarch stepped off the elevator wearing a charcoal gray suit, pearls glistening against her neck, hair in its signature sculpted bun. Her heels clicked like a metronome of intimidation. Peace froze mid-step. Veronica's gaze locked onto her, slow, assessing, sharp enough to peel back skin. "You," she said coldly. Peace forced a polite smile. "Yes, Mrs. Brown?" Veronica stepped closer, examining her like a painting she didn't understand. "You're Peace," she said, eyes trailing to the name tag. "James mentioned you." Peace's heart plummeted. He did. Veronica's smile was thin, dangerous. "He said you were interesting." Peace swallowed hard. "I just do my job, ma'am." "Yes," Veronica said softly. "And yet, he's never mentioned a housekeeper before." Peace's stomach twisted. She needed to escape. "Is there anything I can get for you?" she asked quickly. "Yes," Veronica said. "The truth." Peace blinked. I don't understand." Veronica stepped closer, so close Peace felt her perfume, icy jasmine, expensive and suffocating. "You don't fit," she whispered. "You don't talk like the others. Don't walk like them. Don't carry yourself like someone who grew up struggling." Peace's heart thundered in her chest. Veronica's eyes narrowed. "So tell me, Peace, what are you hiding?" Ice spread through Peace's veins. "I'm not hiding anything," she whispered. Veronica smiled, the smile of someone who knew how to smell a lie. "We'll see," she murmured, sweeping past her. Peace stood still long after she left, trembling. She had survived 7 years without anyone suspecting a thing. But now there were two people she couldn't hide from. The man who saw too much, and the woman who saw everything. After her shift, Peace walked home under the soft glow of streetlights. She needed time to think, to breathe, to rebuild her walls. But when she reached her apartment, her phone buzzed. Message from James Brown. "Peace, if tonight isn't a good time, I understand. But please tell me I didn't imagine that you feel this too." Her heart clenched. Another message followed. "I don't want to rush you. I just want you to know I'm here. Whenever you're ready." Peace sat on her bed, phone pressed to her chest. She was in danger. Real danger. Not from James, but from falling for him harder than she could withstand. She typed a response slowly. "James. I didn't imagine it. I feel it too." Her fingers trembled as she continued. "But I'm afraid." He replied immediately. "Then let me be someone you don't have to fear." Tears slipped down her cheeks. Because the man she feared wasn't him. It was the version of herself she had buried. The truth that would one day detonate everything good between them. She never meant to say yes. But when her phone buzzed again, "Can I see you tomorrow? Just for a walk? Nothing else." She whispered to herself. "One walk won't destroy everything." She typed back. "Okay. Tomorrow." But she didn't know that tomorrow was the first step toward a love story that would shake 2 empires. And shatter her heart before it ever had the chance to heal. Peace barely slept that night. She drifted between fear and longing, telling herself she should cancel the walk, block his number, disappear again, the way she disappeared from her past life. But every time she imagined texting him a rejection, her chest tightened painfully. James wasn't like the men she'd grown up around. He wasn't arrogant, entitled, or manipulative. He didn't want to shape her into something useful for business deals. He didn't see her as a name with a price tag. He saw her. Peace hadn't been seen in years. The next morning, she stood in front of her closet staring at the same 3 dresses she owned. She chose the navy blue one, simple, soft, modest. She pulled her braids back with a ribbon and took a slow breath. "One walk," she whispered to herself. "One walk won't destroy you." But deep down, a part of her already knew. It absolutely would. The park James chose wasn't a crowded one. It was tucked between quiet neighborhoods, lined with tall pecan and oak trees whose leaves fluttered like golden rain in the cool breeze. He was already there when she arrived, hands in his pockets, hair ruffled by the wind, jacket unzipped. He looked younger, realer, more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. When he spotted her, the smile he gave her made the world feel warmer. "Peace," he said softly. "You came." "I said I would," she replied, but even she heard the tremor in her voice. He noticed it too. "Are you nervous?" he asked gently. She exhaled shakily. "A little." "Me too," he admitted, surprising her. "I didn't want you to feel pressured." They began walking, side by side, the sound of crunching leaves beneath their feet. James kept his hands visible, open, relaxed, as if reassuring her he wouldn't reach for her unless she reached first. For a while, neither spoke. And somehow, that quiet felt intimate. Safe. Until James finally broke the silence. "Peace. I'm not blind. Something is scaring you." He paused. "Is it me?" Peace shook her head quickly. "No. It's not you." "Then what is it?" She stared at the path ahead, the sunlight filtering through the trees. "I have a life I don't talk about," she whispered. "A past I can't share." James slowed, turning to her with soft curiosity rather than suspicion. "Everyone has a past," he said. "Mine isn't exactly simple either." Peace let out a small laugh, humorless, aching. "You'd be surprised," she murmured. "Then tell me what you want me to know," he said gently. She hesitated. She was used to lying, to hiding, to pretending. But for the first time, she wanted to give someone a truth, even if it wasn't the whole truth. "My mother died when I was young," she said softly. "And it broke my family. Everything fell apart. I walked away from a life that wasn't good for me." James listened with full attention, not pity, not sympathy, just presence. "I'm sorry," he said after a moment. "Losing a parent, it changes pieces of you forever." Peace blinked, surprised he understood so fully. "You lost someone too?" she asked quietly. "My father," James murmured. "I was 19. He was my best friend." They both slowed, two hearts bonded by grief they never spoke of, two childhoods shaped by loss. Peace whispered, "I don't talk about that with anyone." James replied, "You don't have to. But thank you for trusting me with even a little peace." She looked at him then, really looked. And that was her mistake. His tenderness, his sincerity, the softness behind his billionaire exterior, it wrapped around her like a warm blanket in winter. He wasn't chasing her. He wasn't interrogating her. He was simply caring. "James," she whispered, "you can't fall for me." "Too late," he whispered back. "I already am." Her heart nearly cracked. They sat on a wooden bench near the lake as the sun began to set, casting warm gold across the water. James told her stories about growing up with a mother who ran an empire with an iron fist. How he spent years trying to be the perfect son, the perfect heir. How he felt suffocated by expectations. Peace listened, feeling a painful kinship with him. "How did you survive it?" she asked softly. He smiled ruefully. "I found little escapes. Places where I didn't have to be James Brown, the billionaire. Just James." Peace swallowed hard. "Do I feel like one of those places?" she whispered. He looked at her, long, deep, unblinking. "Yes," he said, voice trembling with honesty. "You feel like peace. Literally." Her breath caught. But they weren't alone. On the far side of the lake, a car engine purred. A tinted black SUV. A figure inside holding a phone. Camera raised. Peace didn't notice. James didn't notice. But the woman in that car noticed everything. Veronica Brown had been watching them since they walked into the park. And her lips curled into a cold smile as she zoomed in on her son sitting too close to a maid who carried herself like royalty. "This little girl," Veronica whispered to herself, "is not who she's pretending to be." She snapped photo after photo, each one feeding her suspicion. As the sky turned pink, Peace stood to leave. "I should go," she said softly. "It's getting late." James rose with her. "Can I ask you something before you do?" She nodded cautiously. "Why did you call me last night?" he asked. Her cheeks flushed. "Because you made it hard not to," she whispered. James's smile warmed into something deeper. He tilted his head, studying her face, gently, reverently. "Peace," he murmured, "let me be honest. I haven't felt this drawn to someone in years. Maybe ever. Her pulse quickened. You barely know me. Then give me the chance to. She opened her mouth to speak, to warn him, to protect herself, but no words came. James took a slow step forward. If this is too much, just say the word, he said softly. I won't touch you without permission. Peace swallowed hard. She didn't say no. So he lifted a hand, slow, careful, and touched her cheek. Her knees weakened. It was the gentlest touch she'd felt in her adult life. Tell me to stop, he whispered again. She didn't. She couldn't. He leaned in, brushing his lips against hers in a kiss so soft it felt like a secret shared between two broken hearts. Peace's breath hitched. She placed her hand lightly on his chest, not to push him away, but to steady herself. When they finally pulled apart, she whispered, "This is dangerous." James exhaled shakily. Then I guess I like danger. They walked back toward the street in silence, hands almost touching but not quite. Peace reached her apartment building and turned to him. Thank you for the walk, she said. And for everything today. He nodded, eyes warm. Can I see you again? Peace hesitated. Every logical bone in her body screamed no. But her heart whispered yes. I'll text you, she murmured. James smiled softly. I'll wait. He walked away. Peace watched until he disappeared around the corner, and her phone buzzed. Private number. Her chest tightened. She answered reluctantly. A cold voice slid through the speaker. Well, Miss Peace. Peace's blood froze. She knew that voice. Veronica Brown. I think you and I need to talk, Veronica said. Before you destroy my son. The line went dead. Peace's knees nearly gave out. The walls she'd built for 7 years were cracking. And Veronica Brown was holding a hammer. Peace stood frozen at the bottom of her apartment staircase, the phone still pressed to her ear even though Veronica Brown had already hung up. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her palms went cold. Her stomach dropped so violently she nearly leaned on the railing for balance. Of all the nightmares she'd spent 7 years avoiding, this was the one she feared most. Someone powerful looking directly at her. Someone suspicious. Someone who could shatter everything she'd built. She whispered into the empty night. No, not now. Her phone buzzed again. Same private number. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Instead, she rushed inside her apartment, locked the door, turned off the lights, and pressed her back against the wall, breathing like she'd run miles. Her phone vibrated once more. A message this time. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. The Rosewood Tea Room. Do not be late. Peace felt her throat close. No signature. No details. But she didn't need them. Veronica Brown didn't ask people to meet her. She summoned them. Peace slid down the wall to the floor, hugging her knees. I should have stayed away from James, she whispered into the darkness. I should have known this would happen. But the truth was cruel. She hadn't felt this alive, this seen, this cherished in years. And now the universe was reminding her of the price. She slept in shallow pieces, trembling awake at every sound, until morning finally came. The Rosewood Tea Room was the kind of place Peace usually walked past without ever entering. Quiet, expensive, filled with people who read newspapers printed in France and ordered pastries without checking prices. Peace felt painfully out of place as she stepped inside. Her old thrift store flats squeaked slightly against the polished floors. Her bargain coat looked dull next to the designer wool and silk fabrics around her. And seated by the large window, in a perfectly tailored emerald suit, sat the woman she dreaded. Veronica Brown. James's mother. CEO, philanthropist, board member. Hunter disguised as royalty. Veronica didn't gesture for her to sit. She simply lifted her eyes, sharp, assessing, and smiled like someone studying prey. Peace Houston, Veronica said coolly. You're late. It's 9:03, Peace whispered. And yet, Veronica replied, crossing her legs elegantly, late. Peace swallowed and sat down carefully, hands clasped to hide their trembling. Veronica took her time stirring a cup of jasmine tea she hadn't even tasted. Her movements were slow, deliberate, elegant, all designed to intimidate. Do you know who I am, Miss Houston? Peace nodded softly. Yes, ma'am. Then you understand, Veronica said, placing the spoon down with a quiet clink, that people like me do not tolerate surprises. Peace's chest tightened. I don't want any trouble, she whispered. Oh, but trouble has already begun. Veronica leaned forward, lowering her voice. You walk with my son. You kiss him. You call him late at night. You think I don't know these things. Peace's breath hitched. I didn't mean. Didn't mean what? Veronica snapped quietly. Didn't mean to attract him? Didn't mean to charm him? Didn't mean to make a billionaire's heir fall for a maid. The word maid dropped like a shard of glass on the table. Peace felt something twist inside her. I don't want his money, she said softly. I never did. Veronica laughed, a slow, chilling sound. That is exactly what girls like you always say. Peace's eyes stung. She kept them lowered. Let me be direct, Veronica continued, folding her hands. You are hiding something. I see how you walk, how you speak. You have the posture of a girl raised in power, not poverty. And my instinct. She tapped her temple. Never wrong. Peace's blood ran cold. She knew Veronica was dangerous, but she hadn't anticipated how perceptive she was. I have no intention of allowing anyone to manipulate or mislead my son, Veronica said, every word precise and sharp. He is vulnerable. He is kind. And he has a weakness for broken things. The insult stung, but the accuracy stung more. Veronica leaned in slightly. So this is what will happen, she said calmly. You will keep your distance. You will stop calling him. You will avoid him at work. And eventually, he will forget you. Peace felt her chest tighten painfully. Her voice broke. What if he doesn't want to forget me? Veronica smiled, a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Then I will make him. Peace exhaled shakily. Veronica straightened her posture. Walk away gracefully, Miss Houston. Before I decide to look deeper into you. Peace's breath stopped completely. I'd hate to discover something you don't want the world to know, Veronica murmured. Peace stood abruptly, her legs shaking. I have nothing to hide, she whispered. Veronica's smile widened. Everyone has something to hide, dear. Especially girls like you. Peace was trembling as she left the tea room. But Veronica didn't move. She simply watched her go, eyes cold with certainty. This girl, she whispered to herself, is not who she says she is. Peace didn't go to work that day. She didn't turn on her phone. She didn't eat. She just sat on the edge of her bed, shaking, certain she'd made the biggest mistake of her life letting James get close. By the time the sun set, she hadn't answered James's 2 messages. James, just checking on you. You good? James, Peace? Did I do something wrong? No. He didn't do anything wrong. That was the problem. Around 7 p.m., a knock sounded at her door. Soft. Familiar. Tentative. Her heart seized. Peace. James's voice came through the wood. It's me. She froze. He knocked again, gently. I'm worried. You didn't show up for your shift. And you're not answering your phone. Peace pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from sobbing. Open the door, he said softly. Please. She didn't. Couldn't. If she opened that door, she might lose everything all over again. James slid down to sit on the floor outside her apartment, mirroring her position inside. He sighed. Peace, something's wrong. I can feel it. She closed her eyes tight. In nothing but 3 days, he already knew her more deeply than anyone had in years. Did I say something? Did someone hurt you? Is it me? Just tell me. His voice cracked, and that broke her. She whispered back, voice barely audible through the door. It's not you. He let out a shaky breath of relief. Then let me help you, he begged quietly. Peace, whatever it is, we can face it together. Her eyes filled with tears. If only he knew the truth. If only he knew how much she cared. If only he knew how dangerous it was for him to care back. James, she whispered. He pressed his palm to the door. Her palm lifted, hovered, almost touched. Almost. But fear pulled her back. I can't, she choked out. I'm sorry. James's breath caught. Silence fell. Then finally, in a voice heavy with hurt. Okay. A beat. But I'm not giving up on you. She heard him stand slowly. He whispered. Whatever scared you. I'll wait until you feel safe with me. Then his footsteps faded down the hallway. And Peace collapsed into sobs. She hadn't let herself cry in years. Peace didn't open her curtains the next morning. Sunlight crept around the edges of the blinds, but she sat unmoving at the edge of her bed, staring at nothing, replaying every word Veronica said. I'll look deeper into you. 7 years she'd remained hidden. 7 years building a new identity. 7 years protecting the truth like it was her last heartbeat. Now one woman, with wealth, reach, and suspicion, threatened to tear it all apart. It's happening again, Peace whispered, voice cracking. Her phone buzzed for the 10th time that morning. James, please talk to me. I'm not leaving you alone with whatever this is. She swallowed hard. He didn't deserve this. Not her lies. Not her past. Not the danger she carried. But ignoring him was hurting him, and Peace felt that pain like it was her own. She typed slowly. Peace, I just need space. Please don't come by. She hovered over send, then deleted it. How do you tell someone you're trying to protect them from the wreckage of your life? You don't. You hide. Peace turned her phone off again. While Peace fought tears in her small apartment, Veronica Brown stood in her executive office reviewing the results of the background check she'd ordered overnight. The report sat on her desk. Thin. Too thin. Nothing. Veronica snapped at the private investigator across from her. You're telling me there is nothing on this woman? Ms. Brown, the investigator said carefully, Peace Houston has a valid state ID, a social security number, and a basic employment history. Yes. Created 7 years ago. Veronica's eyes narrowed. She's fabricated. Don't insult me. The investigator cleared his throat nervously. There are irregularities. Her documents check out, but they're too clean, Veronica finished coldly. Too perfect. He nodded. Almost like someone with resources built them. Veronica's eyes gleamed. Exactly. She tapped the thin file. No family records before age 19. No school transcripts. No medical history. She leaned back in her chair. This girl built a wall around her past. And people only build walls around things worth hiding. The investigator hesitated. Should we continue deeper? That level of research requires warrants, unofficial channels, data mining. Oh please, Veronica waved dismissively. You're being dramatic. Find me everything. I want her childhood, her town, her fingerprints if necessary. She smiled with cold certainty. And I want it fast. James Brown stood in the supply hallway at the mansion, staring at Peace's empty cleaning cart. He shouldn't have noticed it. He shouldn't have cared. But he did. Deeply. Mrs. Alvarez, the head housekeeper, approached quietly. You're looking for her, she said knowingly. James didn't deny it. She didn't show up yesterday. She's not answering calls. Something is wrong. Mrs. Alvarez sighed, her expression soft. Mr. Brown, Peace is private. She carries weight on her shoulders. I don't think she lets anyone see. James swallowed. Did something happen? Did someone say something to her? Mrs. Alvarez hesitated. Too long. James's stomach tightened. What? He asked sharply. I shouldn't, she began. Mrs. Alvarez, please. She exhaled. Your mother asked me questions about her a few days ago. A lot of questions. James froze. His jaw clenched. What kind of questions? Her past. Her family. Her background. His breath left him. And Peace. Peace looked frightened afterward. James felt something ignite inside him. Anger, frustration, guilt. He'd suspected his mother knew something. But to corner Peace. To intimidate her? His hands curled into fists. Mrs. Alvarez, he said quietly, if my mother did anything to make Peace feel unsafe, I need to know. The older woman shook her head. Peace didn't tell me details. But she was pale. And she said, She said she'd made a mistake letting someone get close. James's heart cracked. He whispered, "She meant me." Mrs. Alvarez placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Mr. Brown, sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is wait for them to come to you." James swallowed hard. "She's worth waiting for." Mrs. Alvarez smiled softly. "Then wait with strength. Not with fear." Peace forced herself off the bed and into the kitchen. She filled a cup with water, hand shaking, then stared at her reflection in the dark microwave screen. Her face looked older. Tired. Haunted. "You ran once," she whispered. "You can do it again." But the thought made her stomach twist painfully. Running would mean losing everything she'd built. Her job. Her independence. Her fragile sense of belonging. And James. Especially James. She pressed a hand over her chest. She could still feel yesterday's kiss, soft, warm, real. She remembered the way he said her name like it meant something. The way he knocked on her door last night. The way he waited. He didn't deserve this. But she didn't deserve him. Peace closed her eyes, letting one painful truth rise. She was falling for him. And falling for James Brown could destroy them both. Her phone vibrated on the counter. She flinched. It was off, but it still vibrated, meaning someone was at her door. She froze. 3 soft knocks. Peace. Her breath caught. James. She pressed her hand to her mouth, silencing a sob. "Peace, please," he said through the door, voice thick with emotion. "I know you're inside. Just talk to me. 2 minutes. I won't ask questions. I just want to see if you're okay." Peace backed away from the door like it was fire. She couldn't face him. She couldn't. "Peace," his voice broke. "You don't have to open the door. Just say something. Anything." She pressed her fist to her mouth again. If she spoke, if she let herself hear his voice for too long, she might open the door. And then everything Veronica threatened would fall on them. She forced herself to stay silent. James waited, minutes that felt like hours. Finally, in a voice that shook, "Okay," he whispered. "I won't push you anymore." A pause. "But if you ever need me, for anything, I'm here." She heard his footsteps slowly fade. And she broke. She slid down the wall and cried quietly into her knees. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." At that same moment, across the city, Veronica Brown's office phone rang. The investigator's voice came through, urgent. "Ms. Brown. I found something." Veronica straightened in her chair. "Go on." "There's no trace of Peace Houston before age 19, but there's something odd." He rustled papers. "Her fingerprints match a sealed juvenile case in Louisiana." Veronica's eyes sharpened like blades. "A sealed case?" "Yes. Completely inaccessible without federal clearance." Veronica's pulse quickened. A sealed record meant one thing. A past someone powerful wanted buried. "Send me everything," she ordered. The investigator hesitated. "Ms. Brown, this might be dangerous to dig into." Veronica smiled coldly. "So is protecting my son." She ended the call and whispered to herself. "You have secrets, Miss Houston. And I always find secrets." That evening, Peace finally stepped outside her apartment for air. Her heart was heavy. Her mind exhausted. She sat on the curb staring at the street. Breathing. Trying to stay calm. She didn't notice the car parked across the street. The one with tinted windows. She didn't notice the flash of a camera inside. She didn't notice Veronica's investigator watching her every move. Chapter 6 ends with Peace whispering into the quiet. "Please, God, don't let my past find me again." But fate was already walking toward her. Peace stayed on the curb long after the streetlights came on, hugging her knees as the cool air wrapped around her like a blanket she didn't ask for. She hated how fragile she felt. She hated that a single phone call, one voice from the world she'd been hiding from, could unravel her in seconds. But more than anything, she hated that she'd hurt James without meaning to. Her chest tightened painfully at the thought of his voice outside her door. "Peace, just say something. Anything." She had never wanted to open a door so badly in her life. The night deepened, scattering quiet sounds of passing cars and distant voices. Peace lifted her head and inhaled shakily, trying to steady herself. She didn't notice the black SUV driving slowly past. She didn't notice the camera clicking from the back seat. She didn't notice she was being watched. Not yet. James Brown sat in his home office staring at his phone, again. No calls. No messages. No updates. Just silence. The kind of silence that eats at a man who knows something is terribly wrong. He replayed every moment from the past few weeks. Peace laughing at his terrible jokes. Peace bending over the garden bed, brushing soil from her hands. Peace freezing when he said he liked her. Peace kissing him by the lake like she'd been waiting years to exhale. That girl, that version of her, she felt real. He felt her honesty. He felt her hesitation. He felt her heart. And now? Gone. It didn't make sense. Unless something happened. Unless someone happened. James's breath slowed. His mother. He stood and stormed out of the office, heading straight for Veronica's private wing. The butler tried to stop him. "Sir, Ms. Brown is on a call." "Then she can end it," James snapped, pushing past him. He found Veronica in her study, pacing slowly with a glass of wine in hand. She ended her phone call immediately when she saw his expression. "Well," Veronica sighed, "you look like a hurricane." James didn't sit. "What did you do?" Veronica blinked with feigned innocence. "To whom?" "Don't play games with me," he growled. "Peace. Did you speak to her?" Veronica placed her wine glass down slowly, deliberately. "I had a conversation with her, yes." James's jaw clenched. "What did you say?" "That she should stay away from you." Veronica folded her arms. "For her own sake, and yours." James exhaled in disbelief. "You don't get to control who I care about." "Oh please," Veronica scoffed. "She's hiding something, James. Something serious. She is a liar. A manipulator. I can feel it." "You don't know her," James snapped. "And neither do you," Veronica shot back. "You're falling for a woman with no past." James paused, just for a heartbeat. Peace did have secrets. He felt them every time she hesitated. But secrets didn't mean she was dangerous. Just human. "You scared her," James said, voice tight. "She's afraid of you." "She should be," Veronica replied icily. "I won't allow another woman to ruin this family." James studied her. Slowly. Coldly. "You're not protecting me," he said quietly. "You're controlling me." Veronica's expression flickered, only for a second, before she regained her regal composure. "I'm doing what's necessary." "No," James corrected, "you're doing what's selfish." Veronica stiffened. "You're choosing a maid over your own blood?" James's voice dropped low. "I'm choosing the truth." For the first time in years, Veronica Brown was speechless. Back in her apartment, Peace finally forced herself inside. She stood by the kitchen counter, shoulders slumped, breathing unevenly. She needed to calm down. She needed to think. She poured herself a glass of water, and nearly dropped it when she heard a soft tapping at her window. Her heart lurched. She rushed to the side, but it was only branches brushing against the glass. Her fear was becoming paranoia. Or maybe her paranoia was becoming reality. Her phone, still off, sat on the counter like a ticking bomb. Peace stared at it, terrified to turn it on. Terrified not to. After several minutes, she powered it up. 8 missed calls. 4 messages. 2 from Mrs. Alvarez. Her entire body went cold when she saw the first one. "Mrs. Alvarez, Peace dear, something is happening around the mansion. I think you should be careful." The second one. "Mrs. Alvarez, I don't know who these men are, but they came looking for your file." Mr. Brown argued with his mother. "Please lay low." Peace lowered the phone, hands trembling. "Men looking for her file." Veronica arguing with James. Her past circling closer. She sat on her couch, head in her hands. "I have to leave," she whispered. The thought shattered her. But staying could destroy them all. Across the city, Veronica Brown's investigator arrived with a sealed envelope. He placed it on her desk, his expression tense. "I found something, but you need to be careful with this." Veronica opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a short file. Sparse, but explosive. "Your suspicion was correct," the investigator said quietly. Peace Houston's identity was created at 19. Before that. He hesitated. Before that, she was part of a private case juvenile sealing. Ordered by a judge. Shielded by a wealthy attorney. Veronica felt adrenaline spike. So she does come from money. Not just money, the investigator said gravely. Power. Veronica's pulse quickened. What family? He hesitated, this time not from fear of her, but fear of the truth. That name is still locked. He swallowed. But whatever happened, someone at the top didn't want her found again. Veronica leaned back, stunned. Someone powerful hid this girl. And now her son was falling for her. "This is worse than I thought," she whispered. The investigator nodded. "Ms. Brown, this may not be someone you want to antagonize." But Veronica Brown had already made up her mind. "No," she said coldly. "This is someone I must expose." That evening, James drove to Peace's neighborhood. He kept telling himself he wasn't stalking her. He just needed to see her. Needed to know she was alive. Okay. Breathing. He parked across the street, scanning the apartment windows until he spotted hers, dimly lit, curtains half closed. He breathed in relief. But then he noticed something else. A black SUV parked a few cars down. Engine running. Windows tinted. James frowned. Who drives a surveillance-type SUV in a quiet neighborhood like this? He stepped out of his car cautiously. As if sensing his movement, the SUV quietly pulled away. James watched it go. His stomach twisted. "Someone's watching her," he whispered. He hurried toward Peace's door and knocked gently. "Peace? It's me." "No sound. Please. I just need to know you're okay." Inside, Peace stood only a few feet away, holding her breath, eyes filled with tears. She leaned her forehead against the door. She wanted to open it. She wanted to run into his arms. But she couldn't. Not with Veronica stirring the shadows of her past. Not with strangers watching her building. Not with danger following her again. "Peace," James whispered through the wood. "I'm scared for you." Her hand lifted toward the knob. Hovering. Shaking. Almost turning it. Almost. But fear won. She stepped back. Silence answered him. James closed his eyes tightly. "Okay," he whispered, heartbreaking. "I'll wait. As long as you need. I just hope when you're ready. I'm not too late." He turned and walked away slowly. Peace stayed by the door long after his footsteps faded. Her voice cracked into the quiet. "You already are." Peace didn't move from the door even after James's footsteps disappeared down the stairwell. Her forehead rested against the wood, her breath shaky, her hands trembling. A quiet ache spread through her chest, a slow burn that felt dangerously close to heartbreak. "You're already too close," she whispered into the silence. "And I'm already too far gone." She stepped back from the door, wiped her face with trembling fingers, and forced herself toward the couch. But her mind wasn't calm. It was spiraling. Flashes from her old life flickered behind her eyes like a broken reel. Her mother's funeral, the press cameras, the estate lawyers, the strict security orders, her father's cold silence. The whispered legal meeting that changed everything. The one moment that made her run. Peace squeezed her eyes shut. "No," she whispered to herself. "Not again. You're safe now. You're safe." But the lie tasted sour. She wasn't safe. Not anymore. Not with Veronica Brown digging. Not with investigators lurking around her building. Not with James caring enough to chase answers. The walls she'd built were collapsing, and she felt every crack. James didn't go home after leaving Peace's building. He sat in his car down the street, hands gripping the steering wheel, jaw clenched in frustration and worry. He didn't know what terrified him more. The idea that Peace was hiding something dangerous. Or the idea that something dangerous was hunting her. He replayed the moment he saw that SUV. The engine running. The tinted windows. The quiet movement. Someone wasn't just curious. Someone was monitoring. His instinct screamed, this wasn't normal conflict. This wasn't motherly interference. This was deeper. He pulled out his phone and sent a message to the one person he trusted for quiet investigations. James, I need you to look into someone for me. Discreetly. No names being passed around. I'll explain tomorrow. Then he rubbed his eyes and whispered into the darkness. Peace, whatever this is. I'll find the truth. I swear it. Across the city, in a penthouse laced with wealth, Veronica sat at her glass dining table sipping tea. The investigator she hired was back. He looked uneasy. Ms. Brown. I dug deeper. Good, Veronica said, keeping her voice smooth. And the investigator shifted. Peace Houston is not her real name. Veronica's eyes glittered. I knew it. But it's worse than fake identification, he continued. This is a federal-level erase. High-level attorneys. Private courts. Protective orders. Veronica sat forward, interested. What was erased? Everything before 19, he said. Her actual surname. Her family history. Her address. Her school records. Her childhood hospital files. Veronica's breath caught. This wasn't poverty. This wasn't hiding shame. This was protection backed by serious power. Who sealed her history? She demanded. He hesitated. Ms. Brown. The signature was redacted. Only a federal judge could have signed off on something like this. Veronica's pulse sharpened. Meaning she could be connected to a political dynasty, a billionaire family, a witness protection case, or worse. Veronica's expression hardened. She's not just a maid, she whispered. She's a threat. The investigator warned gently. You might be biting off more than you can handle. Some sealed histories aren't meant to be touched. Veronica's smile turned razor-sharp. I don't care whose daughter she is. No one plays games with my family. She dismissed him with a flick of her wrist. But when she stood from the table, she wasn't calm. She was scared and angry. The most dangerous combination. By morning, Peace knew she had to leave Atlanta. It was the only way to keep James safe. To keep herself hidden. To keep her past sealed. She packed a small duffel bag, a few clothes, her small savings, a photo of her mother, and her old forged documents. Her hands shook as she zipped the bag shut. I can disappear again, she whispered. I've done it before. But as she opened her apartment door, her legs froze. She saw it. A piece of paper tucked against the side of the doorframe. Not from James. Not from Mrs. Alvarez. A crisp, ivory-colored card. She picked it up. Her heart stopped. It wasn't a note. It wasn't a threat. It was a photograph. A picture taken the night before. Peace sitting on the curb outside her apartment, alone, shaking, captured from a distance. Her breath hitched. She turned the photo over. On the back was a message. Stop seeing him. Last warning. Her knees buckled. Her bag fell from her hand. She backed into the apartment, slammed the door, and locked it with trembling hands. They know where I live, she whispered in horror. They're watching me. Not just Veronica's investigator. This was different. Quicker. Colder. Professional. And it wasn't James's mother who left that note. Veronica wanted to expose her. This person wanted to scare her. Her past wasn't just circling. It was catching up. James stormed into Veronica's office again, this time without knocking. Veronica didn't even look up. Oh, good morning, darling. Come to apologize. No, James said flatly. I came to ask you one question. And what is that? She asked lightly. His eyes narrowed. Are you investigating her? Veronica's smile didn't falter. I'm ensuring your safety. That girl is. Don't call her that, James snapped. She has a name. Veronica studied him. Ah, she said softly. You really care. I do, he said without hesitation. And I know you threatened her. I warned her, Veronica corrected. And judging by how she's disappeared, she listened. James's heart plunged. Disappeared? He grabbed onto the edge of the desk. What did you do? He demanded. Veronica's lips tightened. The real question is what she has done. She is lying to you. To all of us. Her identity is fabricated. I don't care, James cut in. She is scared. Something is happening to her. Exactly, Veronica said coldly. And we don't know what. That's the problem. James took a slow step forward. His voice lowered to a chilling calm. If anything happens to her because of your interference, he paused, I won't forgive you. Veronica's expression cracked, just for a second. You are my son. And Peace is, he stopped himself, throat tightening. She matters to me. Before Veronica could answer, James left her office, furious and determined. Back in her apartment, Peace sat on the floor, photo trembling in her hands. She felt hunted, exposed, terrified. Her chest heaved. She had run once. She could run again. But the thought of leaving James, that hurt more than fear itself. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a single vibration. She lifted it with shaking hands. James, I don't care how long it takes. I'm not leaving. Please, don't disappear. Tears filled her eyes, falling freely now. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed. Then deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. Finally, through broken breaths, she wrote. Peace, James. I'm scared. 3 seconds later. James, then let me protect you. Peace pressed her fist to her mouth, overwhelmed, terrified, aching. But one thing became clear. Running wouldn't save anyone. Not anymore. She needed help. She needed truth. She needed James. She whispered into the empty room. I can't do this alone. And for the first time since she ran from her old life, Peace Houston decided to stop running. Before we continue, tell us in the comments. If you were Peace, would you trust James and stay, or would you run to protect him? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next chapter reveals the first major truth Peace has been hiding, and it will change everything. Peace didn't sleep that night. She just sat on the floor of her tiny apartment, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the photo the unknown watcher had left behind. Every few minutes her eyes flicked toward the door, half expecting someone to knock, or worse. She didn't know who left the picture. She didn't know who followed her. She didn't know how close her past really was. But one thing she did know. Running would no longer save her. It would only confirm everyone's worst fears. Peace wiped her trembling hands on her pajama pants and stood slowly. The air in the apartment felt too heavy, too silent, too full of ghosts. I need to breathe, she whispered. She changed clothes, wrapped a scarf around her braids, and slipped outside. The morning air was sharp and crisp as she stepped onto the street. Her eyes scanned the area, the bushes, the corners, the parked cars. No SUV. No cameras. No shadows lurking. But fear had taught her long ago. Just because you don't see the danger doesn't mean the danger doesn't see you. She shoved her hands into her pockets and walked. For the first time, she wasn't walking toward anything. She was walking to think. Across the city, James was awake long before the sun rose. He sat on the edge of his bed, elbows on his knees, head lowered in frustration and worry. Peace's final message replayed in his mind. James. I'm scared. Terrified was more accurate. James reached for his phone and sent a message to the investigator he trusted, someone far more skilled than the one Veronica used. James, meet me at 8. Bring what I asked for. Don't involve my mother. Then he threw on a jacket and headed for his car. He wasn't going to sit back anymore. He wasn't going to let his mother's paranoia wreck something fragile and beautiful. He was going to find peace. Not to force her. Not to corner her. But to protect her from whoever and whatever hunted her. Veronica Brown had not slept. She sat in her office surrounded by documents, photos, public family registries, and sealed case records. The deeper she dug into Peace's blank history, the more unsettled she became. Peace wasn't just hiding something ordinary. She was hiding something large. Something dangerous. Something protected by high-level power. And Veronica hated not knowing. She hated it more than anything. Around 6 a.m., she called her investigator again. "Find the rest," she demanded. "Ms. Brown," he whispered anxiously, "I already told you. Digging deeper could be dangerous. Some sealed records are protected by federal." "Do I look like I care?" Veronica snapped. The investigator swallowed hard. "No, ma'am." "Good," Veronica said, standing slowly. "And I want the truth by tonight." She hung up and whispered to herself. No one hides their identity unless they have something worth hiding. Peace walked for nearly an hour before realizing where her feet had taken her. The Brownstone Hotel. She froze across the street, staring at its towering glass windows reflecting the morning sky. Her workplace. Her sanctuary. Her downfall. She hadn't planned to come here. In fact, she had planned to avoid it. But her heart, her mind, and her fear had all collided and brought her straight to the one place she had been running from. "I can't avoid this forever," she whispered. She crossed the street slowly, head lowered, scarf wrapped tight around her face. She knew exactly who she needed to see. Mrs. Alvarez. Not James. Not Veronica. Not anyone but the one person who had always treated her with quiet kindness. Inside the staff entrance, Mrs. Alvarez was checking inventory sheets. Her eyes lifted and widened with shock. "Peace," she gasped. "Oh my goodness, child, you look like you've seen a ghost." Peace's voice cracked. "I think I have." Mrs. Alvarez grabbed her hand instantly and pulled her into the supply room. "Sit. Talk to me. What's happening?" Peace looked around before whispering. "Someone is watching me." Mrs. Alvarez stiffened. "What?" Peace pulled the photo from her pocket with shaking fingers. Mrs. Alvarez stared at it, horrified. "Oh dear Lord. Peace, who did this?" "I don't know." "Does James know?" "No." "Did Veronica?" "No," Peace whispered. "This feels different. Worse." Mrs. Alvarez lowered her voice. "Peace, what exactly are you running from?" Peace opened her mouth, the truth trembling on her tongue. But she closed it again. "I can't say," she whispered. "Not yet." Mrs. Alvarez squeezed her hand. "Then at least let someone protect you." Peace shook her head. "People get hurt when they try to protect me." Mrs. Alvarez cupped her face gently. "No, sweetheart. People get hurt when they try to protect lies. But protecting truth." She smiled softly. "That's where courage lives." Peace's eyes stung. For a moment, she wanted to collapse into this woman's arms and tell her everything. But she couldn't. Not yet. When Peace stepped out of the supply room, she didn't expect anyone to be in the hallway. But James was there. Standing at the far end. Looking exhausted. Looking relieved. Looking like a man who had been searching for her everywhere. His breath caught the second he saw her. "Peace." Her heart stumbled. She took a step back instinctively. Fear, instinct, survival. James froze, pain flickering across his face. "I'm not here to push you," he said softly. "I just needed to know you were alive." Peace swallowed. "I'm fine." "You're not." She looked away. James took 2 slow steps forward. "I know someone's watching you," he said quietly. Peace's heart dropped. "How do you know?" "That SUV last night. It wasn't random. Someone's following you." Peace pressed a hand to her mouth, her breath trembling. James stepped closer, lowering his voice to a whisper. "Peace, please, talk to me. Let me help you." "You can't," she whispered. "I can try." "You'll get hurt." "I won't let that happen." "James," her voice broke. "You don't understand the danger." "Then explain it to me." Peace shook her head violently, tears blurring her vision. "No. If you knew, you would stay away." James swallowed hard. "I'm not staying away." Peace felt her chest cave in. Her walls weren't just cracking, they were shattering. She took a deep breath. Enough was enough. If she wanted to survive, and if she wanted him to survive, she had to reveal something. Not everything. But something. Something true. Something real. "James," she whispered, trembling. I haven't been honest about who I am. His eyes softened, not with judgment, but with patience. I know. Peace's breath hitched. You know. James nodded slowly. I don't know the truth. But I know you're hiding something. And I know you're scared. Peace pressed a hand to her heart. But you deserve someone simple. Someone normal. James stepped closer until they were just inches apart. I don't want normal, he said softly. I want you. Her breath shattered. Her fear loosened just enough for courage to slip through. James, she whispered. My name. Peace Houston. Isn't the name I was born with. James inhaled sharply, not in anger, but in quiet readiness. Peace looked down, tears slipping down her cheeks. And if the world finds out who I am, everything could fall apart. James reached for her hand, slow, gentle. Then let me hold the truth with you, he whispered. Whatever it is, you're not alone. Peace lifted her eyes to his, broken, terrified, hopeful. She parted her lips and spoke the first piece of her real past aloud in 7 years. For a long moment, Peace didn't breathe. Her heart thudded against her ribs as she stood in the quiet staff hallway, James only inches away, watching her with a patience she didn't feel she deserved. The truth pressed against her lips, the truth she had buried, suffocated, and sealed under 7 years of silence. Peace, James whispered, brushing a tear from her cheek with a trembling thumb. You're safe. Tell me who you are. Peace swallowed hard, hands shaking at her sides. My real name isn't Peace Houston. James nodded, waiting. Peace closed her eyes. My name is Pearl Houston Wynn, she whispered. And I'm the only daughter of the Houston Wynn dynasty. James froze. Confusion flashed in his eyes, then shock, then something deeper. Recognition. Understanding. The Houston Wynn Empire, he whispered. Peace nodded weakly. Yes. That's one of the largest media families in the country. Yes. Your mother, Madeline Houston? Peace's breath hitched painfully. My mother, she whispered. The woman the world adored. The woman the world expected me to become. James stared at her, speechless. Peace took a shaky step back. When my mother died, she said, voice breaking, my father and his board tried to force me into a life I wasn't ready for. Arranged partnerships. Public appearances. Security I couldn't breathe behind. Tears streamed down her cheeks. And then, something happened. James's brow furrowed gently. What happened? Peace shook her head. You don't need the details. Just know, it was legally sealed. Dangerous. A scandal someone tried to blame on me. Her voice cracked. I ran because staying would have destroyed me. And revealing who I am now could destroy you. James stepped forward, gently taking her trembling hands in his. You were a child, he whispered. You did what you had to do to survive. Peace let out a broken sob. All these years, she whispered, I've carried the guilt. That I abandoned my mother's legacy. That I disappointed my father. That I hid from the world. You protected yourself, James insisted. There is no shame in surviving. Peace closed her eyes, letting herself feel the warmth of his hands. But the moment didn't last. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Peace stiffened. James turned. Standing at the far end, dressed in a tailored navy suit, hair pulled into her signature tight bun, eyes like sharpened crystal, was Veronica Brown. And she looked furious. Veronica approached slowly, her heels cutting into the marble floor like weapons. So, she said coolly, the mystery girl finally speaks. Peace's heart pounded painfully. James stepped protectively in front of her. Mother, don't move. Veronica's voice was icy. James didn't budge. Veronica's sharp gaze slid past him to Peace. Pearl Houston Wynn, she said with a bitter, knowing smile. No wonder your records were sealed. No wonder your trail disappeared. Peace trembled. Veronica circled them like a predator. Your father, she continued, is one of the most powerful men in media. Your family owns half the networks in the country. And you've been cleaning hotel rooms. Peace's voice cracked. Yes. Why? Veronica hissed. Because I wanted peace, she whispered. James squeezed her hand. But Veronica wasn't moved. Oh, you poor thing, she said mockingly. Do you think you can hide from a past like yours? Do you think running makes you humble? Real? Honest? Peace felt tears burn her eyes. It made me free, she whispered. Free. Veronica barked out a cold laugh. You put my son in danger. You brought your chaos into our home. You lied to him. James snapped. She didn't lie. She survived. Veronica turned on him sharply. She deceived you. She protected herself, James countered. She is a scandal waiting to erupt, Veronica spat. She is the woman I care about, James replied, voice unwavering. Peace gasped softly. Veronica froze, her expression cracking. James stepped closer to her. Mother, he said quietly, you don't get to choose who I love. Veronica's eyes widened, hurt flashing through them, quickly masked by anger. He turned to Peace, lifting her chin gently. I don't care about bloodlines or money or names, he whispered. I care about the girl who eats fried okra with me. The girl who laughs when she's nervous. The girl who runs, but still hopes. He brushed a tear from her cheek. I care about you. Peace's knees weakened. But Veronica wasn't finished. You think this ends with sweet words, she snapped. Her family will find her. The press will find her. Do you want our life splashed across headlines? Do you want the Brown legacy tied to the Houston scandal? Peace flinched. Mother, James warned. No, Veronica said sharply, eyes locked on Peace. This ends today. Peace closed her eyes, bracing for war. But then, something unexpected softened Veronica's expression. She saw the terror in Peace's eyes. The fragility. The exhaustion. The girl trying so desperately to breathe. Veronica stepped closer, slowly, and said something unexpected. What are you truly afraid of? Peace looked up, broken, trembling, defeated. That loving someone will ruin them, she whispered. Veronica froze. Because for a moment, only a moment, the facade cracked. And Peace saw something she had never expected. Recognition. Understanding. Humanity. Veronica Brown, the woman who seemed carved from steel, swallowed slowly. And whisper soft, she said. I know what that feels like. James's head snapped toward her, shocked. Peace stared, heart pounding. Veronica looked away, then inhaled deeply, a rare show of vulnerability. You loved your mother, Veronica said quietly. I did too once. And I lost people because of who I was expected to be. People I cared for. Her voice softened. And I never forgave myself for it. Peace blinked in stunned silence. Veronica continued, her voice controlled but trembling at the edges. You don't get to choose where you're born. You don't get to choose your legacy. But you do get to choose who stands beside you. She looked between Peace and James. If my son chooses you, if he wants you, if he believes in you, she exhaled shakily, then I will not stand in the way. Peace gasped. James stared at his mother as if seeing a stranger. Veronica straightened, regaining her poise. But understand this, Miss Houston Wynne, her voice sharpened gently. If you run again, her eyes softened. You won't just break him. You'll break yourself. Peace felt tears fall, hot, heavy, healing. James wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into his chest. She let herself sink into him. For the first time in 7 years. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't nobody. She was known. And she was safe. The brownstone hotel garden looked different now. Brighter. Warmer. Full of laughter. Peace sat on the bench beside James, her head resting on his shoulder as the sunset painted the sky in gold. She still worked at the mansion, but now by choice, not necessity. She'd begun therapy. Reconnected with her father through slow, careful conversations. And found in James, a partner gentle enough to hold her past and her healing. Veronica wasn't her enemy anymore. They weren't close. Not yet. But they were no longer at war. And that alone felt like a miracle. Peace smiled softly as James kissed the top of her head. You okay? He whispered. She nodded. For the first time, she whispered back, I think I am. James took her hand. And for the record, he murmured, I don't care what your last name is. Peace laughed, soft and real. I know. They sat together, watching the sun disappear behind the horizon, two worlds that weren't meant to meet, but somehow did. And Peace Houston, once a girl who hid from everything, finally allowed herself the simplest, bravest truth. She was worthy of being loved. Not as Pearl. Not as Peace. But as herself. Before you go, tell us in the comments. Do you believe that sometimes the people we fear will destroy us are actually the ones who save us? If Peace and James's journey touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that love can find you, even when you're hiding from the world. Thank you for watching. And remember, your story isn't over, it's only beginning.